everybody, and welcome to our 11 o'clock hour of our night around the clock. I'm Matt Dopp, the CEO of the class. We're going to be joined by Taylor Schwant and Rich Lipscomb. We have an exciting panel today. Franchise on the move, the story of the Lehigh Valley Phantoms relocation from Philadelphia to Adirondack, New York to Allentown, Pennsylvania. Joining us on the panel are three executives who all worked in the Phantoms organization for many years: Chris Porreca, Erik Hansen, and Kevin Schildt. They all worked there for 5, 8, and 10 years, so they were all in the trenches moving the franchise, and we're excited to talk to them, and they have really powerful roles in hockey. So without ado, let's bring them in. Chris Porreca, I don't know if I introduced you good enough, but how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having us today, Matt.
Really excited. And Kevin and Erik, how you doing?
Great. Thank you. Much appreciated.
Yeah, doing well here. It's a game day here, so we got a game tonight. So hopefully we'll get a W as well.
That's exciting. We'll get a win during this 11 o'clock hour.
Yeah.
We'll try to get one later.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll start off. The Lehigh Valley Phantoms used to be the Philadelphia Phantoms. They're the Flyers AHL team. And about a little over a decade ago, the Spectrum where they played in Philadelphia was getting torn down, and the Phantoms realized, hey, we got to move and go somewhere. So I know, Chris, you were part of that early. So just take us a little bit through that story, how that all started.
Sure. So in 2009, the Spectrum was being torn down, and our owners, Rob and Jim Brooks, were looking to place a team. We knew back then that we were going to be in the Lehigh Valley. We didn't know which location, and so they got a call that the Flyers were selling the Phantoms, and right away they said yes, without even asking what the price was, because they knew the location, the history, and everything like that. And so they bought the team in 2009, and from there, I think it was, roughly December or January they bought the team, and by April they had moved the franchise from Philadelphia to Glens Falls, New York. I think.
Yeah, that's obviously very interesting. Yeah, we got the mutes and unmutes here. But so the biggest thing that you talked about there was the Brooks brothers wanted to buy it, and they were actually the owners of the Wheeling Nailers, who is in the Pittsburgh Penguins organizations in West Virginia. And I know, Kevin, you've had an interesting story of how you got in here, because you were living in somewhere pretty nice, and then you ended up having to look down the road and move to West Virginia to get into this move. So tell us a little bit about your backstory and how you ended up getting with the FAMS organization.
Yeah, and nothing against Wheeling. It's a beautiful city on the Ohio River, and they play at West Banco Arena, but not. I was in Dunedin, Florida, so I started my career in baseball, and I worked for the Toronto Blue Jays spring training facility for about 5 years, and ended up having a meeting with Rob Brooks, actually down in Fort Myers, Florida, at a youth hockey rink down there. We hung out at a bar and had lunch, and we're kind of chatting and about really what their plan was, and the passion that I think they had for what they were doing and what they were trying to do, or in Lehigh Valley, got me obviously really excited. But that was in 2011, so I had to kind of make a little brief stop in Wheeling, West Virginia. So I lived a block from the Gulf. Somehow convinced my girlfriend at the time, now wife, to move from Florida to Wheeling, West Virginia. But it was more, the Wheeling time. I thought I was probably going to be there for about 2 to 3 years. I ended up actually being there for about 9 months, because that's, I think, when Erik was in Glens Falls. Things were speeding up really fast with Lehigh, so he was trying to move to Lehigh. So it kind of worked out where we were only there for less than a year. But again, it was I had to think 3-4 years down the road. So I came in as a director of ticket sales for the ECHL Wheeling Nailers, and worked there for a season, knowing that 3 years I'll be hopefully opening up the new arena with Erik and Chris in Lehigh, and kind of sped up a little bit quicker. And I ended up going to Glens Falls for, I think it was two full seasons. Yeah. And then moved to Lehigh.
Muted again, I think.
So that's my kind of story there, just kind of, again, being in Wheeling, and then, going up to Glens Falls, kind of working with Chris. Erik, I don't even think Erik and I worked together in Glens Falls. I think you moved and I kind of came right in. But we kind of were co-workers living, being 4 hours away. And I know Erik was kind of managing me and managing kind of our team, but also selling for Lehigh Valley. And so, yeah, we were I was the director of ticket sales for 2 years. I absolutely loved Adirondack, but was super excited when, we opened up a state-of-the-art, PPL center. It was amazing.
No, it's awesome. It's a beautiful building. I guess, like you said, to bring Erik in, Erik, I know you are the director of ticket sales, and that, you've been selling tickets your whole life, which is the lifeblood of, the sports industry. So tell us a little bit about your backstory and how you got with the Phantoms.
I actually started my career with the Phantoms when they were Comcast Spectacor. So I worked for the Phantoms, the Flyers, and the Sixers. And honestly, I started hearing rumors about the Phantoms going to Lehigh Valley way before that. I think my first talks with somebody about it was in 2005-06 time. And that was something I knew I wanted to be a part of. And I didn't know, Rob and Jim didn't even own the teams then. I never even knew who they were. But I kind of stayed in contact with people through Comcast, and I actually I went down to a Phantoms game when they were playing at the Wells Fargo Center, and got an introduction to Rob at that point, and spoke with him briefly. And then a couple months later, he actually gave me a call and asked me to drive up to Glens Falls, New York. And that's when I had the opportunity to meet Chris. The day I walked in there was the day he was promoted to executive vice president of the Phantoms. And, his excitement of what they were trying to build there got me very excited with their vision. And so I had the opportunity, when I drove up there the first time, I think there was like 3 feet of snow on the ground, and it wasn't really sure about Glens Falls, and there was nothing concrete. Hey, we're definitely doing this, but I had enough confidence in talking with Rob, and then talking with Chris that, hey, this is all going to come together, and moved up to Glens Falls for less than a year, and was starting to get settled there. And honestly, one day, Chris and Rob called me in and said, hey, you're moving down to Lehigh Valley next week. And I was like, okay, I guess this is a go. And moved down there to that area. Wasn't really sure what was going on. Met with Rob and Chris, and we were in this office building that was probably 80 years old. Couldn't find it. It was hard to get in there, but it was overlooking what was a dirt hole. And I remember the first day walking in there, there's a whole bunch of people working on this project. And then a couple days later, they stopped working on the project. And I was like, oh crap, I just moved again, is this going to happen or not? But nobody gave up on, the project and how it was going to come together. And then eventually now you look at that beautiful building.
Yeah. Yeah. So to Chris, you just mentioned it. You just got promoted. You just sent Erik down to Lehigh Valley, and he just talked about the project stopped. What were the nerves like, or what was that whole process like where, hey, I'm on a new promotion. We're trying to build this building. You got Erik down there in, Allentown, doing all this different stuff. Just what was that time? That had to be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, it was crazy. I think from sending Erik and getting him started was key to the success of the Lehigh Valley. The reason for that was, it takes some years to get trust from people and get them to buy your product. So sending him there was a key kind of component of our success. And Erik, obviously did a fantastic job and was successful. But at the same time, Kevin came up and he was in Glens Falls, and we had to be successful there as well. And so, it wasn't hard to manage, both of those situations. I think, with both of those, Erik and Kevin, both of them, they've obviously gone on and been successful. But even when they were in, within our organization, they were, they were going to be successful, and they were very helpful in my day-to-day thinking. And, that's the big thing about sports, is we're able to bounce a lot of ideas, and most of the time my ideas were the best ideas, but Kevin and Erik did have ideas at times. All kidding aside, but that's what sports is about. We can, the three of us, and you were on this before, is it's a relationship building, whether it's within the organization, whether it's outside of the organization, getting tickets and all that stuff. So really the management part of that was the easy part. It was just trying to figure out where we were going to go next, and when we were going to get there, and what kind of support we could give to Erik, and what kind of help up in Glens Falls we needed. And the good thing about Erik and Kevin, they didn't work necessarily day to day next to each other at the beginning, but Erik would come up, and I know they were on the phone a lot with each other, and communicating that way. That was all before the Zoom era, so it was all phone calls, right? Like, so they didn't see each other, but they were on the, it's crazy to think, technology and everything at that time.
And I think that's, what made it so successful was honestly the relationship and the that we had with each other, the trust that we had with each other. We realized early on, for this to be successful, all three of us had to be successful. And there's never a time where it's like, oh, he does this or this. We did everything together, and that was, I think, that made it so much fun, because you're working so much and have so much, pressure, some may say, or whatever, but you're going to work every single day with people that you respect and build friendships with.
That is great too, because even when Erik was in Lehigh, and then Chris and I were in Glens Falls, we did a really good job still kind of connecting the two and making it still be one team. So we would go down to Lehigh and do tours, and kind of just see, just for all of our staff to kind of see what's happening, see what the progression is. So we'd go down there for a few days, check out the arena, but also kind of brainstorm and kind of work together as, looking at, when we're starting, in Lehigh and that process. So I think we had fun, and really for us, it was we never second guessed anything. It was you're going down to Lehigh. We got in the car and we drove, and we did that for a few days, and, we just kind of bounced back and forth, quite a bit.
Yeah, Matt, I think just backing up a little bit from the whole process and getting to Lehigh Valley, I think there was also a move from Philadelphia to Glens Falls, New York, which was important for our organization as well. We like I told you, it was pretty quick in how that happened as well. They bought the team, they were moving it to Glens Falls. I started May of 2009. I was the third employee through the door. So Adirondack, our goal in Adirondack was different than our goal here in Lehigh Valley. In Adirondack, from within the organization, one of the things we wanted to do was obviously build a good team and have a strong team as we transferred down to Lehigh Valley, but also for that community, to build an organization that the community could be proud of and could keep hockey at a professional level in the Glens Falls market. And so, originally we had signed for 3 years to be in Glens Falls. Those 3 years went by faster than you can imagine. And all of a sudden we're at the 4th year and we have to sign a 1-year extension. And then after the 4th year, we actually had to, because Erik had mentioned earlier, he looked out the window one day and there was some stoppage on the site, right? And so that there was a reason for that, and that put us a year behind. So I think we had all planned on starting our process and moving a year before we actually did. And then we had to then connect back with the Glens Falls community, say, hey, we're coming back for our 5th year. And there was some struggles with that. There was some roadblocks and hurdles to get across, but I think we successfully did that. And to this day, Glens Falls still has a professional hockey organization within the community, and it's thriving, and it's kind of the lifeblood of Glens Falls. It really does bring the community together. And like Kevin said, Glens Falls that whole area is beautiful. The people are awesome, and there was good things about every organization and good things about communities. And that community, that's one of the things I'm really happy about is we left that community in good standing, and we were able to provide something that they can build off of. And hopefully they're building it better than we had it. I mean, that's the hope, is that everything's better today than when we were there, and they seem to be doing well.
Absolutely. So take a quick break here. We're with Chris Porreca, Erik Hansen, and Kevin Schildt. They were all executives to FAMS during their move. And we have a question from the chat box we're going to get down to. If anyone else out there has a question, feel free to throw it in the chat. But we're going to throw it down to Rich and Taylor, and they'll ask a question from Jasmine.
All right. So our question from Jasmine is, well, she wants to say first, thank you for speaking with all of them today, everybody. And so did the demolition of the Spectrum have an effect on the Phantoms move? We'll pass it off to Chris first, and then Kevin and Erik can chime in where they see fit.
Yeah, I mean, the demolition occurred after we had bought the team. I think it was, I don't know how quick, I can't remember how quickly that happened after we had, the Rob and Jim had bought the team and moved that. So the actual demolition didn't really affect the team moving. It had been done before that. But we knew that when we bought the team that they were going to, tear down the Spectrum.
Yeah, I can't speak much for it because I was not really kind of a part of that, but I know Erik was working down there, right? So you kind of really have a
there was always talks. The Spectrum was a very old building. I think it was built in the 60s, and that was my first office. And there would be times, honestly, where the executive vice president, he'd be working and a pipe would break in his office, and so it would be flooding and stuff like that. So they always knew that either they had to put a lot of money into it, or they would have to, tear it down. And there was never a chance, if they're tearing that down, they didn't want to be like, they didn't want to have the Phantoms playing in the same arena as the Flyers. So you put 2 and 2 together, you got, hey, they had to get rid of the team.
Pipe's not going to break in your office, is it?
That's what Kevin, I can see. You were thinking that pipe behind him was going to break. That would have been perfect.
So far, I've been lucky.
Holding on to that. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks, Jasmine, for the question. And like I said, if you have one, throw it in the chat box and we'll pull it up. But I guess to hop back to what Chris said, going up to Glen Falls, the fans up there, they're pretty fanatical. Like, hockey is their life. And you talked about how you had to sign a 3-year deal and then eventually move it to a 4th. But I guess to Kevin and Erik, I know you guys were always in the trenches selling the tickets and talking to the fans. What was some of that feedback you had to get where you're like, hey, we're going to leave, but oh, wait, no, now we're not. We're going to add another year? Because I'm sure you had some fun conversation dealing with some diehard hockey fans.
I think it was all about telling a story to the fans. I think the one of the things they did very well is when they came up there, they didn't try to, act like, hey, they're going to be there forever. The plan from day one was Glens Falls was a great minor league hockey organization, town. And, but the team left and there wasn't any hockey there. And they knew the only way to get hockey back there was to have a team step up. And it's a smaller market. But we went in there and they showed that they had the support within the community. And we wanted to go in there and show that a team could be pretty successful in that area. So when you're talking to somebody, they know you're leaving, and when you're talking to them, don't you want hockey to stay here? Well, another team's going to be looking at how we're doing if they want to come into this market. So it was pretty, your open conversation with people, and hopefully they believed in that.
And what was kind of interesting too is, and just like every team, even now, you have kind of, phases in your season where, renewals start, right? So you're talking about season tickets. So, even for us, with the Stingrays right now, is our renewal campaign for next year for the 2021-2022 season, started it a month ago. So when you're playing a season and you're at one point anticipating that it's your last, and then all of a sudden, quickly in December, we decide, what, we're actually going to be playing another season. We have to pivot really quickly to say, okay, well, we got to start that renewal process. We got to look at corporate partners. What are we, working on the schedule, all of that kind of stuff, which normally you're doing probably a little bit further in advance. So I thought that was kind of always interesting that it kind of things change pretty quickly. And I think going into our last year, kind of what Erik mentioned is telling the story, and we had to, it was challenging to sell tickets, season tickets, and getting people to support you when they knew you were leaving. So we kind of, it's probably Chris's idea because he's just a marketing genius, but we went with this like all-in campaign, and it really was like we talked to the league and we talked to other teams and to say, what is that season ticket number? What do we need to show other teams that we're a viable market? That Glens Falls is a viable market. And I think I still remember the number was like 1,350. We needed like 1,350 season tickets. And we went all in. Literally, that was our campaign, was all in. And that was our focus, is getting to 1,350. And we had, advertising in the paper of kind of telling people where we were to kind of really push people to, hey, we need you, you need to buy 2 season tickets. As a company, you need to step up and support this team because we are trying to bring in another team. We ultimately hit that number, and then that's when, Calgary and everything kind of, stepped up and brought in, their team. So I think it was kind of transitioning, not necessarily, you don't have to support the Phantoms, you don't have to support Adirondack Phantoms, but you have to support hockey in Glens Falls. And I think that was kind of the story that we tried to tell, and why we had a successful final season, and it was, it was, I'll remember the last game where we kind of were like, normally at the end of a season, it's see you next, you're talking to your season ticket holders, people that you became friends with and that you see every game, that you're closing the doors, and it wasn't see you next summer. It was, see you never again, technically. So that, it was kind of an emotional kind of, time, I think.
Yeah, and it's really clever that, we're able to pitch it. Hey, you're not buying, Phantoms, you're buying, hockey in Glen Falls. But I know when, the move did happen, it actually ended up happening pretty quick. And I know there's probably might be a funny U-Haul story behind packing up and getting there and out in the middle of the night. So I guess I'll let Chris take that one because he seemed pretty excited to tell us about the U-Haul story.
Yeah, right. I think, well, at the end, I guess, to Kevin's just backing up Kevin's point, all in, it wasn't just advertising, and it was really the staff was all in as well, and trying to get the community and show them that, we really believe in you, and we believe in hockey here. And, we did the things that we had to do to get, 2-3 tickets was crazy. Like, we'd have hot dogs for free on the front patio and people would show up. We'd serve snow cones for people. We did, we'd have, I don't know, arcade games and have people come down and just, there'd be 30 people. And if we could get 1 or 2 tickets out of that, it really went a long way in our overall number. So, you know, when Kevin mentions the all in, it wasn't just trying to get the fans to be all in. We had to be, as a staff, we had to be all in, but we knew it was a short-lived time, and that was till the end of the season. And when, you know, as we move forward and we're getting ready to move, and I remember as the season was winding down, we're looking at the Lehigh Valley, and Erik's down there, and June was kind of our target. Like, hey, we're gonna be able to close up shop here, and the season will end in middle of April. We'll have some time to figure out our financing and get everything done, and here we go. Well, I think it was in April, the season ended, and about 3 days later, we're told there's another team coming in and they want to start in 2 weeks. And Kevin and I there wasn't a lot of people left in the office because some people decided they didn't want to come to to Lehigh Valley. They had family up there and they wanted to stay or wanted to go somewhere else. So it was really just Kevin and I, and, you know, we had to load up a U-Haul, and I think I don't know how many trips we made and how many times we drove down with this U-Haul, but, you know, just it's part of the gig. I think that's the important thing here is, you know, whatever in sports, whenever you're asked to do something, and you know, staffs aren't, you know, thousands of people. It's, you know, up there, I think when we were even working at our height, we had 9 people. At the end, there was 3 or 4 of us. One was the finance person, and Kevin and myself. And, you know, we had to basically get all of our stuff, get it in a U-Haul, and drive down there. You know, I think one of our trips was with 168 cases of paper, right? So it sounds great, you know, loading up all this paper, and we get here in the Lehigh Valley and we got to hoof it up 4 flights of stairs because there's no elevator. And, you know, just the things you have to do in sports is, you know, at times you're like, this is just not very smart. But, you know, you look back at it, and I think the stories that Erik, Kevin, and I can talk about bring us together and make us, you know, we're able to, you know, just bounce things off of each other still to this day, because we went through these times together, and whether they were good times, bad times in each of our minds, you know, we went through it together, and that was important for us. And as we move forward in our careers, you know, it's helped us, all 3 of us. I guarantee it's helped us, you know, even if at the time we didn't think it was going to help us. So,
Like if you've ever moved and like your house, you know, or like I've moved a few times, and you start packing things, and all of a sudden you feel like you're organized and you're getting things together, and everything is in the spot that it needs to be in the U-Haul. And then usually it just goes downhill really quickly, where we just start throwing things over the top, stuffing things into the U-Haul as much as possible. You know, there was probably a ton of stuff that didn't even need to go, you know, like just items that we like are packing up that like, we're never going to use this again, but we got to take it, you know? So there was just a lot of times, a lot of kind of interesting kind of trips and cleaning out the office.
yeah. And not just cleaning it out, Matt, I think one of the fun things for us was at the end, we had a back closet in Glens Falls that had a couple of shelves in it. And then there was this little panel at the bottom. And at the end, you know, being kind of curious, we opened up the panel, and underneath there, we actually found some items from when the Adirondack Red Wings were in town, when the Adirondack Frostbite were there. And so we basically found that, you know, we had never opened it in the 5 years we were there. So we opened this thing up, and there's all this memorabilia from these teams, which was really cool to like kind of look through for a couple of days. And then we put it all back, and then we started to add our stuff to it too. So we kind of, you know, there was a little place that
Time capsule.
Yeah, time. Thank you, Erik. A time capsule that we left behind, you know, that other teams had also left stuff behind. So hopefully the team there now has discovered it, or if they haven't, hopefully when they leave someday that they discover it and are able to leave some things behind. But, you know, that was it was fun, you know, again, an interesting find for us. And then the ability to leave, you know, a few items behind and leave our mark on that facility and the town.
Yeah, that is pretty special. And I didn't even know about that time capsule story, which is really awesome to preserve the history of hockey up there. So something you mentioned was that when you work in sports, you have to wear a lot of hats. You have to do a lot of roles. And I know that there's a funny picture that's going around the internet of Kevin and Erik that when the PPL Center was being completed, you guys kind of had to wear a tuxedo and maybe put on a hard hat and do some construction, deliver the first seats to the PPL Center. So take us through that story and what that whole experience was like. You know, sometimes making your own press is the best press. And so I know you guys look good.
I don't know if it was, I hope it didn't go around the internet too much, you know, like, is it still viral? Yeah, it's viral or not, but yeah, again, probably one of Porreca's crazy ideas that he kind of came up with, but you know, the PPL Center, you know, it was a massive project. It was years in the making for everybody, and you know, we were doing Erik and I like were doing tours with potential season ticket holders and stuff like that, in you know, in hard hats, and kind of just trying to paint a picture of, hey, here's where, you know, your seats are going to be. This is where the suites are, like kind of trying to show, you know, fans what it's going to look like. And as, you know, Erik and I were in ticket sales, that's what we were selling those seats, you know, specifically. So it was a big deal, I think, for us when the first seats were going in. And again, it was probably Porreca saying, Kevin and Erik, why don't you dress up in tuxedos and deliver them? And Erik and I were just like, yeah, sure, why not, right? Did we show up in a limo, or did the seats show up in a limo?
The seats showed up in a limo, and we came out and we had the white gloves on like it was a Stanley Cup.
Right.
But it was, you know, building that arena was so cool because you do stuff like that, and the next day it's all over the paper, it's on the internet and all that kind of stuff, and we're getting a ton of press. And then what happens? Well, people are going online to, hey, I'm interested in season tickets, or it's people that we've talked with over the past year, could put a name with a face. And that was a nice part of building a brand new arena, is anything you did, the coverage that you would get was unbelievable. And everything we did, we tried to turn it into a, you know, a circus. And I think Chris did an awesome job with coming up with, from a signing a beam to the seats being delivered to flushing the toilets. Everything would be, you know, get the press there, and me and Kevin got to be celebrities for 2 minutes, which was fun.
Yeah, I think we had that, you know, we amplified as many things as we possibly could. And it's not very often that you get to open up a new building and open and really create a new team and kind of start from scratch. So like there was pressure in the sense that you had, you know, because you only get one first impression. You only get to do this once. And we wanted to make sure that everything we were doing it to a high level of standard, because that's our name, and that's kind of how we're starting off in the community. So we wanted to kind of make sure that, you know, we're looking outside the box and doing some unique things to kind of make sure that, hey, this is who we are, and you know, we're here, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So off that, we're going to head back down to Taylor and Rich. They have another question from the chat, so bring it down to them.
Hey guys, this is more for Chris or really anyone. This past year with COVID and everything happening, can you guys describe how much of an impact COVID had on the Phantoms and where you guys are at now? Like if you guys recovered?
Yeah, I think that's probably, the three of us can probably talk a little bit about that, not just specifically the Phantoms, but in general. You know, Erik and I work in the American League, so we've, you know, we're similar in regards to how things have gone. From the Phantom standpoint, we shut down March 13th of last year. We played Wednesday, and then that Friday we were supposed to have a home game and shut down. And during that shutdown, the team, you know, obviously the team left, and I think everybody thought 2 weeks later we're coming back. This will be quick, and you know, we'll be back in the building. Not a big deal. Well, that turned into more than 2 weeks. And that's when it started to get a little bit interesting, right? So then you know, we told people not to come into the office after 2 weeks, and then After that, we told people that, we're going to work from home and get all, if you need to go in, get your computers and all that stuff. So it changed the dynamics of what we were doing and how we were doing things. It's all a learning experience for everybody. There's no roadmap. There's not anyone I can call and say, hey, how did you deal with this situation? Everybody's dealing with it and scrambling and trying to do the best they can. So we, as the Phantoms, decided that, hey, we're going to have this. We didn't decide. The league decides that we're going to have this season. And we raised our hand to participate, not because it was a financial gain or anything for us. We're getting crushed every single day that we have a game. We'd be better off not playing any games. However, we believe in our community. We believe in putting out entertainment and a good value. And some people were looking for something to do. And if we didn't play another season, that also our name would not be out in the community. People would probably forget about us a little bit, right? And it would take us a lot longer to ramp things back up, get our marketing going. So, when we decided to start the season, that's, we did that. Now we went from 31 employees. Now we're down to basically Glens Falls in numbers. We're down to 9 total employees, full-time staff members on the Phantom side of things. We furloughed a lot of people for many months. So at the beginning, I think we didn't furlough anyone. We went 6 months without furloughing, and then we had to furlough people. We couldn't continue to pay everybody, and we furloughed them. And then probably in the last month here, those people, we ended their furlough. We had to let them go. We don't know how this is going to turn out. We don't really know, when we're going to come back with the jobs that they were doing. We've all taken on a lot more responsibility. We've all learned a little bit new things. So, in dollars and cents, the whole pandemic, COVID, has been awful for our organization. And I would imagine Kevin and Erik will say the same thing. However, there's always a silver lining in everything that you do. And, the silver lining is we've got a core group of people that are now working for us. We're working as, a tight knit group, and it's easier to communicate with less people. And we're all learning new things so that when we do come back and we do hopefully hire some of these positions, we're able to have a deeper knowledge of what those people are expected to do. And we can guide them to the best of our ability, and hopefully they'll be successful as people come back. Now, the people that we furloughed and now have let go, I know that a lot of them have moved on to other jobs. So, which is great. You never want to see someone lose their job or anything like that. So we're happy that they found jobs, and hopefully they'll be successful. And coming out of this, the plan is, as we move into next season, that hopefully we'll have a full gamut of games, and we'll play every single game, and we'll be back to 100%, and we'll start to make some money. Now, that all that money isn't going to come back in 1 year. It's going to take us a couple of years to recoup everything that we've lost from not having games and now having games, but at a 25% capacity here in our building. And each state is different. Erik will tell you when he talks a little bit about this. His is different than my situation. And so I think, how we've dealt with this and coming back is we've dealt with it on a daily basis. We've dealt with it in a professional manner, and we've dealt with it in the way that we think is the best way to deal with the situation that has been presented to us as an organization.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I said, it's been a tough time in COVID, and thanks for the question. And to Kevin and Erik, I'll get to you soon about what you're doing now, because I know you've moved on to really good things. So another chat from the question. Obviously, working in minor league sports, mascots are a pretty big deal, and our school's close to Philadelphia, so we're getting a lot of questions about Flex. He used to be the mascot back in the day to Philadelphia Flames. I know the Lehigh Valley Phantoms now have a new mascot that I worked with when I interned there, Melvin. He's a Pladoodle, but so I guess maybe talk a little bit about what happened with Flex there now, what we got going on with Melvin.
Well, there's only one person who can answer that question, and that's Erik Hansen. He knows Flex really well.
Well, Flex is definitely the biggest superstar to start Philadelphia. You know, people could talk about, you know, the Philly fanatic and all that, but Flex was really where it was all about. And he was just he loved Philadelphia so much. He just had a hard time. He made a couple guest appearances up in Glens Falls, but he just did not fit in Glens Falls at all. So I think he's back in Philadelphia or in that area, waiting for his next opportunity.
You know, a little bit more on that is you know, we did bring Flex with us in Glens Falls. We had him there for a little bit, and then you know, a little inner workings on that is we, like Erik said, it didn't work in Glens Falls. It wasn't the costume was old, it was ratty, it was falling apart. So we knew that it was important for us to have a good mascot program and be professional with that. And so our owners stepped up to the plate like no other minor league team, you know, that I've heard about. You know, is we hired a full-time person. Like, this person was in our office. They were there full-time. They're, you know, every single day, and that was their role. When we went from Flex to Dax was the name. It was a beaver because the state animal in New York is a beaver. So that's how we came up with that. But so we had to get rid of Flex in a way that was, again, professional and people would understand. So he actually retired. We had a banner that came down, big retirement for him, and he went off. Who knows where he went? I mean, he was supposed to write us postcards on a monthly basis. I haven't heard from him in years. So hopefully he's still around somewhere.
I think he came for Kevin's going away party. Was that?
Yeah, he showed up here somewhere. Yeah.
For some retirement. But I think for the mascot side of things, and I would have never thought of this, but you know, the mascot is so much about the community side of things. You know, Flex worked in Philly. People loved him, and that was, you know, the Philly. But up in Glens Falls, didn't work at all. People were scared of him, didn't understand the concept. And I think that's something people need to look at. And even when we came up with Melvin, it's a part of the community, and people love that kind of stuff. But if you would bring Melvin somewhere else and just throw him in there, you could have the same person in the outfit. People want something in the community. They want their mascot, and you see it with the Flyers, what they've done with their mascot. And in the beginning, people were making fun of the mascot, and then once Philadelphia people saw that, you can't make fun of that. That's ours, and they really stepped up. And now he's the biggest mascot in the NHL.
Especially like when you think of minor league sports, hockey or any sport, like our players move around. You know, our players get called up. You know, they're not here for forever. You know, so every year your roster is changing, sometimes pretty drastically. The mascot's always there. So the mascot's the brand. The mascot's, you know, who our fans kind of get behind, because, you know, the team and the roster is constantly changing.
Yeah. No,
Matt, come on. Does everybody know that you were the lettuce?
The celery, yeah. There's a popular thing around here.
Not the lettuce.
The lettuce, celery, same thing. We had a good
All
time.
produce. You were produce.
I was produce. I was one of them. I was carrots, celery, anything.
Yeah.
But no, Melvin he's an awesome, staple of the Allentown community, like you said. So, Kevin brought up how players get called up, and that's actually a great lead into our next question. So we're going to head down to Taylor and Rich again.
All right, so we have a question from Tommy, and he's asking this is directed towards everyone, from your time with the team, who has been some of your favorite players to watch on and off the ice? We can start with Erik.
My favorite players on and off the ice. That's a great question. And Chris and Kevin will make fun of me as I don't I know the players once they leave our organization. So I would say
just pass on the question.
Any players, honestly, in my career, the players who would go out and do community appearances. When I was in Philadelphia, Riley Cote drove to Delaware with me one time. to talk to a youth hockey team to buy tickets. So I will always love him for that. Freddie Myers, who was in Philly, and then in Lehigh Valley, Diesel, and he did a couple of appearances for me, so I really liked him.
I'm trying to think. Glens Falls was probably Zach Fitzgerald. He was the enforcer. He was the guy that would rile up the crowd. He knew, like, I think he had a few missing teeth, and he would fight every game. But he's a guy that our fans loved because he'd go out after the game. He would hang out and talk to our fans forever. But he was entertaining, to say the least, like in Glens Falls. Shane Gossesbear, I think is a really cool story because he won a championship with Union, which was right outside of Glens Falls. So I remember them winning the championship, him signing with the Flyers, coming up to play at the very end of our season. I think it was our last year. Yeah, it was the last game of the year. And I remember him like coming into our office and like requesting a ridiculous amount of tickets because all of his, players from Union and his family members and friends, and he was at like, he just signed this big deal. So there was a huge, Gossesbear fan group at the last Adirondack game.
Yeah, I mean, my two, Glens Falls was Michael Layton, without a doubt. He was like these guys say, each player has their own personality, and I think as you get into sports, you don't look at them as much as a guy you want to get an autograph from, but you look at them as someone hopefully who you can create a relationship with and friendly. And when I ask them to do something, it's not, hey, I'm asking you got to do this. It's more of they know that, hey, this is important for the organization. And Michael Layton was that guy and for me when we were in Glens Falls. And then easily here in the Lehigh Valley, the only player I've ever hugged, Oscar Lindblom. He was and still is, talk to him quite often, is just a down-to-earth guy, and he was willing to do whatever we asked for him here as well. And obviously his story is one that is tugs at your heartstring, and you're happy for the guy, not just because he's playing, but because he's alive, right? Like that's important. And that's what these guys become to us, is they become just like Erik and Kevin. They're friends, and hopefully people, when I need something, I can ask them. And, I have guys coming through the building now who played for us and they're on other teams, and, you go down, you say hi to them, and if they need something when they come to town, or they're, easily would do something for those guys. So again, hockey's a small community, and people do things for people who work in hockey. It just seems different to me than other sports, and I couldn't be happier with those relationships and the relationship even with players and with staff in the past. So those are my two.
And I think the nice part about, the Flyers organization and what we've, took in Glens Falls and Lehigh Valley is being a part of the community side of things. It really makes our job so much easier when these guys will go out to read to a school, do a hospital visit and stuff like that. And in our time up there, I could not think of many people who ever would be really pushed back on that kind of stuff and wouldn't want to get out there. We've had people that have asked to do more events. Like Danik Martel was definitely one of those guys who would ask additionally, hey, what else can I do to help you guys? And it comes down to they want to fill up the building as well.
Yeah, so we have about 5 minutes left, and like you said, I interned for the Phantoms for a year, and it is a special place, like you're talking about. Everyone's, family there. So like I said, about 5 minutes left, and I just want to hop in. I know Kevin and Erik, you've both moved on, and you've taken new roles. Kevin's, you're working for the Stingrays down in South Carolina, and Erik, you're up working for the Hartford Wolfpack. So I just quick before we close, tell us a little about what you got going on and what your new role entails.
So I'm the Vice President of Business Operations for the Wolfpack. And I know the reason why I was able to get this job was because of all the success we had in Lehigh Valley. And for that, I'm very grateful to Chris and, Rob and Jim to continue to grow my career. And right now, it's pretty interesting. Nobody planned on COVID happening, but this is going to be really like a rebuilding from the ground up. The only difference is I don't have to worry about building an arena, but on the staffing side of things, I had to let go of all the staff with COVID, and I'm sitting here with 100 resumes on my desk, trying to rebuild as we speak, and it's looking pretty good. We'll get people in here in the next month or so, which I'm excited about.
Is Kevin one of those resumes?
He may be. I'm not sure if I'm going to call him or not, though.
Good luck getting me back up north. Ain't happening. So yeah, I work for the South Carolina Stingrays, ECHL affiliate of the Hershey Bears and Washington Capitals. I left Lehigh Valley 4 years ago. Primarily, it was quality. It was weather. Couldn't deal with the snow, so came down here 4 years ago. Yeah, came down here 4 years ago to live in Charleston. I actually didn't come down here for the Stingrays. I came down here. I worked for a soccer team for a little while, our Chamber of Commerce, and then, just kind of, I guess the piece of advice too is when you start working in sports, you really kind of develop a network of people that trust you, that you've worked with in the past. So I got this job, I think partly because of Erik, but it was just kind of a connection that we had. And, the president of the Stingrays reached out and he was like, this person and this person mentioned you as we were looking for, a VP of corporate partnerships. Are you interested? And so I've been here for 2 years. Had a great year last year. Again, season got hit with COVID. Our season ended. Number one priority was getting back to play this year. We opened up in December, so we're on the tail end of our season right now. Doing about 3,000 fans, and for us, it's kind of been, there's kind of been stages of the pandemic. When it first started, we went from servicing over selling. How do we take care of our community? How do we take care of our partners? What are we doing to just do good things, give back, make sure that everyone's in a good situation, and we're not selling anything. Then as we got closer to the season, we had to sell. So we're selling corporate partnerships, season tickets, but being super flexible. We had no idea what was going to happen. We had no idea if we played one game and it would get canceled. So being incredibly flexible, with our partners and our season ticket holders, and then now I think it's just kind of trying to manage that, that timeline where, people down here in South Carolina, people think, it's over. Pandemic is over, right? And trying to remind fans is we're still doing 3,000 fans and we're not increasing capacity. You still have to wear your mask, so there's kind of a different story there, but it was really kind of getting back to play. We knew same story as Chris, we just had to play and we were trying to just sell support is, we're a small business, support us if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah, Matt, sorry, I don't mean to, I'm sure we're at the end of time here, but I think, like they both said, connections, right? And you're, you're a senior in college, and probably other people are wondering, how do I get a job in sports? And really it's connections. And I know that you've done intern TV and you got some good stuff going on there. And it's probably one of my favorite shows, by the way. So thank you. But, like your internship here with us has hopefully set you up. You met people. We sat next to each other during some of the games as you're trying to catch that photo of a goal. And, you got to do those things, right, to make those connections and hopefully move forward within your career and keep in touch. Like that's how you got probably the three of us, is we've kept in touch, and you've done a really good job of that. And hopefully others who have had interns, through with Newman and moved on are doing that as well. So, I think that's the big thing, is connections, and don't ever think that someone you've talked to is not, thinking about you, or you have a relationship that you can move forward with that organization.
Awesome. Well, you're making me blush, Chris, and I've enjoyed our relationship, and with Erik and Kevin as well. I can't thank you three enough, for the time. This was really fun. We got to wrap up here, so I want to thank Taylor and Rich as well, and everyone that joined us, everyone that hopped in for questions. Thank you for coming for our NUSM 460 night around the clock, our 11 o'clock hour franchise on the move. We hope you learned something, and hey, have a great day. Thanks for coming.